you can imagine a situation where like a pickpocket is going around town, takes your wallet, right, runs down. As he's running away from you, you bring out your gun and say, "I'll fucking shoot you," and then he keeps running, and then you shoot him in the back or whatever, right? Yeah, to me, I would take that as a violent and ridiculous escalation of the situation.
Sure. And then on the flip side, I would say that it's absolutely ridiculous that a pickpocket should be allowed to run around and rob people with impunity because he's faster than anybody else. I think that's insane to me. Like, there's no tears lost for a guy that is stealing from people, knowing that he might get killed doing it, and then he does and he gets killed.
Oh my God.
You're stealing shit from people. What do you expect to happen?
He's faster than anyone else, and that's why he's the best pickpocket on all the land.
It's just about the fact that his
because he's faster than anyone else doesn't mean he should be able to abscond with my
He's not treating his life. Why? He's not treating his life sacred. Why the fuck should I? If he's willing to forfeit his
consequences
life
for actions like this, generally, yeah.
It's not even about consequences. It's just about some guy protecting their shit from being stolen from somebody else. An extension of who you are. Like, I'm not going to treat some guy's life with sacred shit. He's not going to treat his own life with sacred shit. If you break into somebody's house, clearly your life doesn't mean that much to you. If you're willing to take that level of risk, so why should the victim have to like value the perpetrator's life more than he values his own life?
Criminals are, a lot of them are pretty impulsive, right? I mean, they're not legitimately having the inner thought every time, oh, this is going to be the night. They're definitely not. They're acting impulsively much of the time, right? No?
It depends. I mean, there are crimes of passion, but burglary is usually like a pretty determined thing. I don't think somebody actually just breaks into someone's house, right?
Criminals, we always think that increasing jail sentences, for instance, is an amazing way to deter criminals. In reality, the situation, they just don't think they're going to get caught.
Yeah, of course, but again, this is a different thing. So when we talk about like prison, for me, I think that prison should exist as a form of rehabilitation. However, on an individual level, I don't think that one individual is responsible for rehabilitating somebody aggressing towards them. This is an institutional level versus a person-to-person level. I think
as a trans person,
I wasn't trying to get into whether or not prisons are just. I was just trying to say that people who commit crimes are generally not doing the cost-value
sure, I agree with that, but I don't think it's up to a victim to try to determine the intent of the criminal. Much the same way that I wouldn't put any personal bodily crime like that. Like maybe you're getting raped by a guy, maybe he's just really fucking frustrated. Maybe this guy's been a virgin for like 30 years or whatever, and he's just out of his mind fucking horny. I don't think that would be a good excuse to use when somebody's being assaulted by somebody, right? You don't really care about the intent of the person at that point. They're violating your autonomy. So whether it's stealing your shit or by violating your body, I don't think that it's on the victim to try to assess the state, the mental well-being or whatever of the person doing it. Beyond a reasonable thing, right? Like again, if a guy is blackout drunk and stumbles into your house, you probably shouldn't be killing this guy because clearly he doesn't know what's going on.
Okay, so I guess there's just a bridge that's just not going to be, because I guess at the end of the day, and you said this in the debate too, you just think about robbery as something that is.
You came in here, all you did is make a trans girl sad. I hope you're proud of yourself.
It's not as bad, but it's somewhere.
The reason why taxes suck, or why a libertarian, I guess, might feel like taxes are theft, is because you only see one part of that exchange. I work, and then the government steals my money. But what people don't see is the only reason why you were able to earn that money in the first place is because of taxes that had already been paid. So whether we're talking about basic shit and obvious shit like roads and schools, or whether we're talking about more abstract stuff like a military to defend your country, or larger bodies that organize trade between you and other countries, right? Like the only reason you're unable to even earn any money in the first place is because of what your tax dollars have already gone towards paying for. So that's why I'm in favor of things like taxation. Like it's not just you getting robbed by the government, you're paying the government for a service that it provides you, but it's really easy to see the tax dollars you lose, and it's really hard to see the benefit the government provides.
Roads. It's always roads.
Watch him decimate right now where he talks to a lady and she's like, so someone breaks into your barn that's not attached to your house to steal a horse or something. Do you have right to kill him? And he says, yes, I do. Told a person probably.
No, he's not.
This guy's literally watching.
He's just trying to figure out where Destiny's coming from.
The only reason I bring this up is remember when I said Destiny has a clear moral attachment to personal property?
He's asking Destiny to compare his viewpoint to that of a libertarian, since they're both big on private property.
This was 3 years ago.
Does that make sense?
This is my favorite estimate by far because the whole time the lady is just intensely reasonable. Wait, so you think just because they're stealing stuff, they're forfeiting their life?
She's bonkers rather than to characterize them as.
I'll let you know if you just absolutely want. You on that hasn't changed, right? It's not, especially when he says words like utilitarian claim. Well, okay, let's run it down. Let's run it in a utilitarian manner. So let's assume that one action is good for how all society can act in a way that optimizes everybody's well-being. Okay. Let's say that I say that it's okay to break into people's barns because they'll never be met with lethal force, and you know that nobody will ever kill you for doing so. What kind of society and utilitarian world does that create? Every single time you think you can get away with stealing something from somebody's barn, where the only thing they have is lethal force to meet you with, you can get away with it. How does that even make sense? If you want to throw around the word utilitarian, I'm fucking weeping how on earth is this man hardcore and capitalism.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
On legal violence.
I should remember. I watched
hundreds of hours with tax included. Bring him on. Bring him on.
That I should remember.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Here we go. It's Big Joel.
By the way, just wanted to start off by saying when I'm watching your videos, debates late at night, I'm not like
He's a
digging
big
through your
fan.
old material,
Big
trying
troll,
to
big fan.
dredge up some shit to say about you online. I just do it when it's late. I'm not trying to
Likes to
roast
watch
you.
the Destiny
I do find
videos
things that
late
I
at
am
night.
confused about often.
Yeah.
I like your debates. I don't know.
Okay, I'm just giving you a warning. So I'm actually a really nice person generally, but 2021 is the year of mean Destiny. So I'm going to try to hold you super accountable to what you're saying. So when you say you're not trying to dredge up old shit to get points, you realize that is actually exactly what you're doing on Twitter, right?
Oh, no. I realize that I'm totally doing that on Twitter. I'm not denying I'm doing that on Twitter. I'm just saying that it's not like I'm watching your videos headlong with the only desire to roast you.
It's just weird that somebody be going through like a 3-year-old video.
It just came up. Recommended. Anyway.
Oh, good. Well, the YouTube algorithm is doing work.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but like Big Joel has been dunking on Destiny on like Twitter, right?
So yeah, I don't understand why you're not like a straight up ANCAP. Like, I'm not trying to debate you. I just don't get it entirely.
Wait, why would it be an ANCAP?
Well, because so in that conversation, do you believe everything we said there?
It's been a long time, but probably, unless my positions have changed. Like, you can ask me like a particular stance, I can tell you what I think, or give me a quote.
So you said, I believe, I'm not trying to take you out of context. You said something along the lines of, if somebody goes into your barn that you're not in, or even if your family is safe, you see breaking into and taking private property is something that is so sacred, so evil that they essentially deserve like a bullet in their head. Like they forfeited the right.
Sure. So let's restructure this a little bit so that it's not as inflammatory, so that you're not begging the question. So I think that if you give proper notice to somebody and they know that their life will be on the line if they decide to break into your stuff and steal your stuff from you, that you have the right to defend that if using lethal force. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you think that stealing somebody's property does totally forfeit the right to life.
I don't know if they meant to talk about this the whole time.
And do you believe that if a person is strong enough, they should be able to infinitely steal from people?
They talk about this the whole time.
No.
Okay, so if somebody is breaking into somebody's stuff and you give a notice, hey, don't do that, but that person is stronger than the other person, so the only way they could defend is with lethal force. Do you think they should be able to be infinitely stolen from?
He's been watching old Destiny videos. Yes, he has.
I think that there's like structures that ought to be in place to prevent these things that don't necessarily revolve around like just somebody existing and being more.
Can you give me an example of that structure? I hope you're not about to say calling the police, because I'm pretty sure that if I were to go through your material, you would probably talk at some point about how calling the police can needlessly escalate conflict.
Oh no, I think that calling the police would probably be a good idea. I mean,
but what are the police going to do if the person fails to comply, ultimately?
What are the police going to do if the person fails to comply? Look, if somebody's breaking into your house, right? And let's pretend you have some sort of a. Okay, so I guess you're upstairs or they're in the barn, right? Do you remember that? You talked about them being in the barn.
They're breaking into a place. The point of this analogy is there's no threat to life. They're breaking into something outside.
Into content.
Okay, so probably I wouldn't think that it was good to.
It is the algorithm.
I would probably think that it was good to call the police. You mentioned that I'm critical of the police. I definitely am. I think that somebody needs to be there to preserve.
You got him in the recommends.
But the weird thing is that if you call the police are ultimately showing up with lethal force, are they not?
Sure, if the person doesn't then comply and like start shooting at the police, I guess would be the idea. That's the only case in which the police should shoot somebody.
Well, not start shooting. It would be like resisting to the point to where the police aren't able to bring the person down in any other way besides escalating to lethal force, right? Which brings me back to my first question of if the person is strong enough, should they be allowed to infinitely steal from weaker people?
Person is strong enough, should they be infinitely allowed to steal from weak
Because that's the
people?
argument that you're making, because you keep throwing around like the utilitarian word. You're arguing that if somebody has sufficient strength, such that the only way to stop them is with lethal force, it's immoral to do so. So a person that's strong enough should be able to infinitely steal from weaker people.
Oh,
that's the argument that
I definitely think that if somebody's like rampaging around, like destroying people's lives.
I do need to say, if anybody missed the Xander Hall drama from yesterday, right? Of like what's going on Twitter and the whole thing on Discord and everything. I am going to be releasing the video version of that tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube.
Like,
no, we're not talking about destroying people's lives.
Destroying people. Well,
is Xander Hall being trash again? Some people think so. I mean, as much as anybody who jokes around about people being eggs is trash, do you know what I mean? Like, do you think that's like makes someone trash to, because it's just like that's the main thing that he's accused of is like joking around about somebody being an egg who turned out to like actually be.
people's livelihoods, destroying people's, as you would say, the essence of their lives, which is, they buy it with their life force. You did the whole thing in the debate.
It doesn't even need to be that intense. It could just be like a fun motorcycle that you drive on the weekends in your garage.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely say that at some point, detaining that person should be a high priority.
Yikes, but unfortunately,
so I'm just trying to be really quick.
That person,
we keep going into things like rampaging. I'm not talking about rampaging.
Especially in the trans
community. I'm sorry, I took it from the infinitely stealing.
Well, when I say infinitely stealing, what I'm saying is you're crafting this kind of like moral rule, saying that you can never defend your property with lethal force, assuming that a life isn't over.
Right.
And so my question is that if somebody knows that, because now you've crafted that, you want to talk utilitarian, so we've got this real utilitarian outlook, and we have a rule for society that says you can't defend property with lethal force. Could a sufficiently large man just go to people's houses, break in, steal what he wants, and then when somebody's like, yo, stop, I'm going to shoot you, and the guy's like, you can't do that, dude, that's immoral, and then walk away with all your shit. Yeah.
So in this particular hypothetical, this man is he's from like Baki or something, like an anime where he's so buff and powerful that any sort of attempt to detain him or arrest him non-lethally would be out of the question. He's just much too buff and powerful for that. Is that the idea?
So while that is the idea, I'm going to take issue with your framing because it is very hard to detain a person. This is why multiple police officers will be involved in this, and it's very likely that a person is able to be large enough to present like some sort of lethal threat to people trying to detain him. So I agree with what you're saying in terms of how you phrase it, but the tone that you're using makes it sound highly improbable when it's absolutely not improbable. Like plenty of people that steal things are going to be larger than the people they're stealing things from.
I think that there is a moral duty to make attempts to detain them non-lethally before lethal force is applied if your life is not in danger. That's what I would say.
Is this the Abigail issue?
So my question is, let's say somebody, and I believe this to be a very
wasn't
reasonable
joking
example,
about her being an egg, since an egg is someone.
Let's say that I have a sign, so I'm putting someone on notice. I have a sign in front of a garage that says, "If you cannot run my gun," or something, whatever the redneck.
Yeah, that's the correct definition.
I've got a sign there, okay? And a guy goes up to my garage. He can read it. He knows the risks, and he says, "I'm gonna break into this garage and steal this dude's shit." Let's say that I see him. And I see him break into my garage, and I know that if he gets into the garage, he's going to ride off with my motorcycle. And I tell him, "Hey, stop! I'm calling the cops. I'm going to shoot you if you get on my bike and ride away." Am I obligated morally to just watch him ride off with my thing because I don't have the physical strength to perform him?
Yeah, absolutely, right?
I still don't understand how Destiny has a fan base outside of Republican.
Yeah, I would absolutely say yes.
Republican Biden voters. There you go.
To not take his life.
So then, okay, gotcha. So then, backing up to what I said before, then you think that strong people should be able to infinitely steal from weaker people?
Do I think they should be? No, I think they should be prevented from doing it.
How do you prevent all theft?
How do you prevent all theft? Well, I would hope that there be some kind of a legal system in place.
In Germany, most people don't have guns.
Very gentle, okay? And I'm going to inform you that you are speaking from an area of unbelievable privilege if you think the police give a fuck about any type of normal burglary or theft, okay? As somebody that has had my car broken into and stolen from multiple times, police are never tracking down like fucking TVs or instruments or anything like that, right?
Of course he's going to have an audience.
Sure. Now, in your world, actually, hold on. I'm going to cross the bridge here and meet you halfway. If there were a world where every possession was guaranteed to be returned by the legal system, I think I might agree with you.
So not even that. If there was a world wherein it was, I hope you would agree. If it was at least highly probable or even likely, I would hope you would agree.
In this world, no, absolutely not.
No, I'm saying not just a perfect, but even if there was like a 50%, what's the odds for you?
It would have to be 95% chance plus. 50% is not good enough.
Dude. That's crazy high to me. I don't know.
Why do you think that stronger people should be allowed to walk in and steal things from weaker people?
I don't think that they should be allowed to walk in and steal things.
But if the only option is using lethal force to take the person out or watching them take your stuff, why should a stronger person who knows exactly what they're doing and they're fully aware of the situation, why should that person be allowed to steal from somebody weaker than them?
I would honestly say that it's important to write down their license and report them to the proper authorities. I don't think that your motorcycle. So you ask, is it okay? You're right. You give the hypothetical. Is it okay for infinitely strong people to steal from weaker people?
They know the police aren't going to show up on time. Yeah, they're just going to break in and steal shit. Yeah.
Sure, but I would just say, does that give you? Just because they shouldn't have the right to do that doesn't necessarily give you the right to murder them, right?
Well, hold on. Wait. Let's be careful. Not murder, but kill.
Okay, kill. Sure. Execute them, right?
Let's just say kill, okay? Because the other two words are really loaded, and I think kill gets across the point of what we're talking about, right? And I'm being nice on kill because I could say defend your property legal force, but we'll say kill somebody, sure. If you inform somebody, you inform somebody, hey, if you get on that and steal my shit, I am going to kill you. You warn them of that, and they fully understand that, they fully are aware of that, and then they hop on your bike and they're like, yeah, fuck you, you're small, I'm big, peace out, and they just ride away. You're just supposed to sit there and be like, well, fuck, he's right. I guess he just gets to steal my shit.
So what's the line for you? If you're eating a sandwich and somebody comes up and starts to take the sandwich and you're like, if you grab it any faster, I'll murder. There has to be a line somewhere, right?
So my understanding would be is if the other person is aware of the risks of what they're doing, then they necessarily consent to any and all outcomes that are going to be enacted on them when they violate another person's, whether it's their personal space, whether it's their boundary, whether it's their body, like, yeah, 100%. Because the alternative to that is saying I have to be okay with strong people infinitely robbing weak people. Because, hey, you can't respond with lethal force, and you're never going to, like, fight the guy, because now you're putting yourself at danger. So, yeah, of course. But, like, in our two extreme worlds, like in the world that you've made, any strong person can steal from any weak person ever.
Let's not say murder because I don't want to accept that.
People can't steal people's shit without somebody potentially responding with lethal force. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Now, it would be pretty crazy and pretty shitty if people were killing each other over sandwiches, but I have a hard time believing that people are going to try to steal sandwiches from people knowing that they'll kill them if they take them.
Sure. I mean, obviously, it's unlikely. I guess, okay. Honestly, the real reason I wanted to talk to you, it's not necessarily related to convincing you that you're wrong about your property.
You should I was actually just more curious about your other belief, if that's okay. Without retaliating,
like related to that.
Reeks of privilege. That's what Destiny said. Yeah.
Why do you draw the line at a person?
I think it goes way past.
If I stand in my house and say that any tax collector who comes and tries to take what I've properly earned, I'll kill them on the spot. Does he have the right to kill the tax collector?
I think arguably he could, but then at that point, I think the state has a right to kill that person. I think that as a society, we're by force, whether you like it or not, we're bought into certain concepts that allow society to run and function. One of those things is the collection of tax revenue in order to ensure like the safety and security of people that exist within the state. If you don't like that, you just have to get the fuck out and leave. If you believe that you don't owe any type of obligation or you don't owe any type of debt to society, then you're not compatible with the society as it exists today, and you need to leave.
You're certainly not compatible, but if I was a libertarian, right, which I think you used to be, right?
Maybe. Like when I was 17,
no?
maybe, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have seen you talk about it or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
To me, when you say, can the infinitely strong person infinitely steal from the weaker people, is that not the state? I mean, is that not the state embodied? Is not what they do thievery?
No, absolutely not. The state is a body
why?
That's entrusted with power by the people in order to enact something that ideally should be for the benefit of society. Now,
you didn't entrust them.
What?
You didn't do that, right? You didn't entrust them with anything.
I'm bought into the concept of how our government and our society runs. I might not always agree with it, but like as a society, this is how things are structured, and this is ideally for how most people want to be ruled. I mean, now, like theoretically, if I lived in a society where they made it legal and they said, well, no, people can steal shit from you, then like, yeah, I guess I would have to play by those rules too.
Well, I mean, that's what he's doing.
You feel like but you didn't have to consent to the way our society operates to have to pay taxes.
Correct, but I think there's a form of ongoing consent that happens as a result of your existing in society. We can take like antenatal argument and say you never consented to being born or whatever, which is kind of true. But I think once you're in a society, you kind of have to play by some collective rules. Do you really think that an individual stealing something from you for personal gain is the same as the state taxing you?
Do I think it's the same? No, I think one is bad and one is good.
Yeah, okay, I would argue the same thing, of course.
But I would say that it's fundamentally the way you were talking. The way you were talking in that debate
has already occurred.
You were acting like the very act of owning something is this extraordinarily sacred act, which can be impeached by nobody else upon risk of death, right?
No, not at all.
That is a rational response.
It's more so that like I respect and I value the autonomy of people such that somebody else can't violate that for their own personal gain. I think there's a big difference between like a state collecting taxes for the betterment of society, hopefully. There's a big difference between that versus an individual that's just trying to rob you of your autonomy or rob you of your possessions for their own personal gain. I think those two things are very, very, very different.
Why?
Zan has done a really good job covering trans issues.
But it's literally stealing because you want to build a library.
I mean, what's the difference?
The difference is that in order for our society to function in the way that it does, all of the people in that society have to be bought into a few key concepts, and people that don't buy into those are incompatible with that society. So for instance, if you're somebody that thinks that they don't have to follow laws like related to murdering or whatever, you're not compatible with society. You have to leave. If you're somebody that and like taxes are a fundamental and instrumental part of how society works, so we have to be able to collect taxes. If you don't think that you need to pay those and you don't ever want to be then you just have to leave. There's no place for you here. Our society.
I mean, there's no place for you anywhere. There's literally no place for you in this world, obviously, except for I guess like
you can like go move into the forest like the Unabomber or some weird thing.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, I would agree that there are some parts of the social contract that you probably wouldn't work anywhere. If you thought you could rape and murder with impunity, there's probably not going to be any society for you. Yeah, you're just going to be incompatible everywhere you go. So yeah, I would argue that a person thinks they don't owe any debt whatsoever to society in terms of their work, like by paying taxes or whatever. That person's probably not compatible with society. They need to either be kicked out of or leave that society or go find some other place to do things. Taxation is like I wouldn't consider it theft. It's a justified like. I think it's completely morally justified. You get a lot of benefits from society, you have to pay a debt back to that society as well. That's how society functions. Stealing is not at all comparable to taxation.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess what you're saying is that you think that these are all aspects of the moral contract, right? You enter into a contract with society, etc. So, and if I asked you what legitimizes an amendment to that contract, the amendment being one must give back to society if one is to participate in its pleasures, whatever.
What
legitimizes an amendment like that, or whatever you want to call it, is utilitarianism.
Property is theft.
I mean,
You'd say it's for the greater good for the greatest number of people.
horizon?
That's what makes it a legitimate amendment on the contract.
Kind of. I mean, I think.
Oh no, it's not.
Well, I mean, I think you could get there. No, I mean, I think you can get there consequentially or deontologically. I don't know if it's like necessarily relevant that we have to be utilitarian to make this
I'm just asking why you. What about these amendments in the social contract do you think legitimizes them? I'm not saying they have to be legitimized.
Oh, sure. Well, okay. So for me personally, I want to have the best world possible for myself. That's my number one priority. And the way that I think that happiness or good things are created is generally in union or in harmony or in cooperation with other people. So I need to be wanting to make a perfect world for myself. I need to enter into contracts with other people that I would imagine will make perfect worlds for themselves, and then all of us are going to come to forms of mutual agreement that kind of protect each other's interests because we work better in groups than we do as individuals. Two humans together will create more happiness than two humans separated. So from that, I would build out these kind of like basic understandings of like, hey, well, we don't steal from each other, we don't kill each other, we don't take advantage of each other when we could, because any personal gain that we might have by violating any type of social contract like that is going to be negated when somebody else violates a social contract like that. So from that, we would build out systems and institutions to protect these norms that we would respect from one another, and then in order to establish and in order to maintain these institutions and norms, we have to collect things like taxes. And again, like everybody needs to be bought into these concepts. If you're not, then you're kicked out because you're not compatible with that society. That's how I would view.
Okay, it sounds like you're agreeing with me that it basically comes down to the amendments in the contract are good by virtue of the fact that they make the most people the most happy, including you.
Yeah, I would say
whatever.
So, yes, yeah.
I feel like distinctions, whatever.
Okay, I'm just making sure I understood from the ground up. But yes, that's what I would say. Yeah.
I guess what I would say is that regardless, returning to the thing that I started this off on, regardless of any theoretical questions of whether or not an infinitely strong man can steal from weak people forever. No, I'm not okay with that. What I would say is that I don't agree with the idea that one of the amendments in our contract should be stealing. You should, if you're told to go fuck off, I guess you think they have to have a gun or something. They have to display their lethal force. You probably think that.
Yeah, you should. The other person needs to be put on notice. I think that's important that the other person's put on notice. Okay. So, for instance, I'm not in favor of people that defend private property, like open lands with like the fucking razor wires hung between the trees that decapitate kids that drive by, or like you sitting in your fucking barn waiting to snipe some dude that unintentionally wanders on your property. I don't think that that's okay because the other person isn't aware that they're being.
What is the razor wire? That's so horrible.
Yeah, I would say that basically it's a bad deal when it comes to society at large. Is what I would argue. I would argue that it is in general a pretty bad deal to every time somebody steals with, I guess there's a lot of edge cases here, which we could get into, but whenever somebody steals...
I think I can be wholly consistent on any edge case here. So on your end, you would be uncomfortable with a society where thieves are executed on the spot, which I can understand. But I would be more uncomfortable with a society where people can steal with impunity, knowing that they'll never be met with lethal force. I would be more okay with a society where some people get killed because they're put on notice and they decide to steal something anyway, versus a society where people...
The thing that gets me is that Destiny keeps on going back to this, like, would you allow, like, what is it, like, limitless stealing? And it's just like, I know he's not trying to say it, but it just makes me imagine that like this person's getting their like milk money stolen every day or something. Like it's this like thing where the person's just constantly coming back to steal from the same person over and over again. And it's like,
just have to sit and watch.
I think what he's trying to get across is it's like, he's thinking that if you don't say that lethal force is okay, you're basically saying that it's okay for a weaker person to get their stuff stolen every time a stronger person comes and wants that to happen. My thing is, though, that most of the time, if the stronger person's going to come and make you do something, they're most likely going to do it with a gun. So at some point, it kind of, I don't know.
As a thief breaks in, steals their shit, and wanders off with impunity.
Infinite stealing, I know, right? Joel's goal here is to understand.
There does, of course, need to...
That's true. Yeah, Joel does spend a lot more time than most people do exploring Destiny's moral framework, which I think is really cool. And I wish more people were like interested in that rather than just looking for easy dunks. Why impunity? It's still illegal to go to prison for stealing, or it's still illegal. You go to prison for stealing. You just don't get. Oh yeah, that's true. Good point, Lord Amorous. Yeah. I think what Destiny's saying is that if the theft is something like a bicycle, a camera, a laptop, in the United States at least, there's no expectation of ever getting that back or being made whole for that. Like basically it's a write-off because the cops never prosecute stuff like that. It's not even something that's really that they like quote unquote waste time on. Like they tend to prioritize crimes that also, occur with some kind of violence or that are of a certain monetary value or whatever. there's a lot of crimes that go unpunished. So I guess that's what Destiny's, and you know, for him it's really personal. He relates it back to growing up, having next to nothing, and saving up for like I guess an iPod was one example that he used, and the other example was like a stereo for his, like not even a real stereo for his car, but just like a kind of half-ass stereo, like that will go in his car and kind of nominally play music, but not really much of anything. But like for him, he was like, the difference between having those things and not having those things was there was like, he said, it's not just a material difference, it's an immaterial difference between, you know, having that and not. So he's almost saying that like that there is like a higher principle at stake that he finds in a poor person actually like satisfying their basic needs that the rest of us take for granted. And I mean, like, that's a beautiful place to come from, and more people need to care about poor people. I mean, I'm glad that, like, you know, you're thinking like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Be structures in place which prevent these things from happening in various ways, right? Including detaining the people responsible for the crime.
Joel is saying that if someone is just stealing, you shouldn't be allowed to kill him because the punishment for that is not death. Destiny is saying that if you are not allowed to use deadly force, then everybody can steal with impunity. The other thing is, if you allow the use of deadly force, you're going to get some people exploiting, like, the uncertainty of the situation in order to say, oh, but Your Honor, I thought my life was hanging in the balance. Like, right?
But no, I don't think I'd rather live in a society wherein people are dying for that.
I don't know about you guys, but from where I'm from, it's okay to shoot intruders. That is true. Well, wait, okay. It's okay to shoot intruders. Like, you're talking about a home invasion situation, right?
Yeah, I don't agree that somebody's stealing a motorcycle and you're holding a gun and you just...
That's a because, like, I mean, this is not, like, they do talk about that situation, but they also talk a lot more about, like, a situation where it's just like, okay, you're getting, like, jacked for, you know, a bike, or you're getting jacked for, like, a saxophone. It's another thing that Destiny's got, like, real life, like, shit that he's relating this to, that it's like, you know, for him it was like getting his saxophone stolen, which, like, completely, you know, just something that he was not, something that, like, I mean, there I can see what he's saying about, like, an immaterial, like a need that, and he doesn't mean immaterial, like, as in, like, doesn't matter. He means immaterial as in it goes beyond just satisfying, like, you know, some material desire or need.
You just shoot him. To me, that seems like a way worse society.
I feel like Joel went on the stream. I really like that Joel went on the stream. Most of the video essayist crowd probably wouldn't. That's true. That's true. This is a risk. This is a definite risk. Like, take my fucking car. I'm not gonna take a life. Police took the guitar of somebody at a protest. Would it be okay to shoot the cop in a video game? Does that come up later? I feel like it does.
We should try
why do you think it's
home invasion or trespassing to steal stuff? Well, so that was Destiny did make, like, a different thought example for, like, just trespassing to steal stuff. Like, the example that he used for that was, like, if it's, like, in a if it's, like, in a barn, yeah, something that's in a barn, so that it's not like, you know, your life or your family's life are at danger, but it is like, you know, this is your possession, and, you know, is it okay to, you know, purely defend, you know, because in the other situation, for all you know, you're defending your life, right? So it's really hard to deny somebody, like, you know, the ability to, you know, do that, right? If somebody, like, and there's no way you could know if somebody's coming into your house, like, whether, you know, your life is going to be forfeit if you don't defend. Oh, yeah, somebody's bringing up the debate with White Nervosa.
Seems like an okay society. So let's say we're not in RoboCop land yet, where the police are 100% showing up on time to solve every crime.
This comes when Big Joel asks if the taxes are theft. Oh yeah. That's where he starts like sort of feeling out like what his destiny is, like where destiny is coming from. Reason if the government coming to collect taxes is a valid reason to kill them. Let them steal stuff. Wage theft is the largest financial theft. Just saying though. If you have a president who values line goes up over your life, you don't know if he's going to bring about your demise because of it suits his demographic purposes. How is the president that brings about 400K additional deaths directly due to his policies? Oh, geez. Yeah, good point. His policies different than an intruder. Well, in the U.S., they're guns, so. Also, with great power comes great responsibility, especially for the powerful in society. It's not, though, destiny intentionally isolating the question to only a handful of variables. Yeah. He's trying to drill down, right? I want to use force against my as punitive accident in a video game. I don't like Trump. Is that what you mean? Both are using hypotheticals. It's not just destiny.
Right. So you've got a guy that works and he works and he earns like $9, $10 an hour. He saved up money for his nice fucking Harley. He's really happy with it. And then some guy shows up to his house to steal it. Why do you think that guy should be forced to just sit there and watch the guy just make off with his shit?
Why should he be forced? Oh, I think he should be forced generally because the wager there, the utilitarian wager between the guy's life versus the Harley Davidson, which that is grand larceny. I guess I don't know how.
I don't care about grand larceny. I don't care anything. I'm just saying
this
guy has traded hours of his life for this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you should probably just report that for sure rather than killing him. I don't think
culture in the US is something else. I don't know.
I guess we just. I think it's a really bad idea that in your idea that you advocate that stronger people should just be able to infinitely steal from weaker people. But I think we just probably have to.
The word "should" is doing a lot of legwork there. I don't think they should be allowed to infinitely.
No, you are
saying
you're saying you have a moral imperative to stand by and watch as a stronger person steals your shit. That's what you are saying.
Yeah. I think you have a moral imperative to not kill when your life is not in danger. Yes. Okay. That is what I think.
Sure. Well, we're not talking about not killing when your life isn't. We're talking about watching somebody steal your shit. We're talking about watching somebody steal things.
I'm saying in almost every case where your life is not in danger, you have a moral responsibility to not kill. That's what I would normally think. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's it. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I can't think of anything else. Do you have anything else?
You have the right to use lethal force against someone invading your house. I guess it's the unknown intentions.
Sorry, it's one thing for 10 seconds here.
If someone shows up to steal your TV, and you know they won't hurt or kill you.
When I was listening to that,
are you morally obligated to do everything short of killing them to stop the theft?
The sacredness of people's ownership of their property in such high regard that I have trouble understanding not why you think that people should pay their taxes if they're obligated to, but why you think that that we should have a society like that. Why do you think that? I don't understand it. If you think that people's property, their life essence that they're pouring into everything is of this much value, I don't totally understand why you think our society shouldn't be essentially libertarian.
So two things real quick, because a lot of people, I'm not going to make accusations of backgrounds or whatever, because I don't know where everybody comes from, but I hear really, sometimes people talk about property in very strange ways to me, and my familiarity with property is a lot different. So back before I was into streaming and I worked, if I bought something, like that thing represented, number one, incredibly real hours of my life that I traded away for it. Like that means something to me, okay? In terms of like, I have lost, weeks of my life saving up for, the first or the second generation iPod, or, I'd saved up for like a car stereo. So not only are these things that I trade hours of my life for, these things represent like measurable improvements in my life. The ability to listen.
I'm not trying to contest that here.
Sure, I know. I'm trying to be more rhetorical in 2021. And usually, I know because people like you will load things. You'll be like, oh, it's just property, and I'll let you get away with it. So sure, but I want to push back on that. It's not just property, okay? These are things that have a massive, not even even a material, but an immaterial improvement in your life on a daily basis that you had to trade hours of your life to get. It's not just like a fucking vase or something that stands in the living room that you look at when you come home. It might be something that measurably improves your emotional well-being every single day of your life, and you had to give up parts of your life to get it. So when I talk about property, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, okay? That's what I mean when I say property, okay? I don't like viewing this as something that is wholly separate from a person that exists in like another dimension. Like you have to open up a portal to go murder someone somewhere else that's stealing something that you own in like a timeshare in Miami, okay? I just want to get that out of the way, number one. Number two, so you asked me like, how are you okay with taxation at all? I believe that humans can create, if we talk about utilities or utils, humans that work together can create more utility than humans that are separated, even if there are the same number of people. So if you've got 100 people that are separated, they might generate 1 unit of utility each. If you have 100 people working together, they might generate 50 units of utility each. So it seems to be the case that people working together are capable of achieving more happiness, even on an individual level, for every single person involved than people living apart. If that's true, which I believe that is true, then that ropes me into forming contracts and bonds with other people that they're forced to work with me in that manner, which means that we have to pay taxes and we have to do things for every other person in society with the mutual understanding that all of us are working on building something together that improves all of our lives in ways that we couldn't if we were separated. That's where like my idea for taxation and stuff comes from.
Okay, so I was never trying. So my question then is, do you not feel that way about the hours you put into your work?
This comes from the Kenosha debate, right?
What's the difference in feeling? I guess I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, you have the feeling when you work as a wage slave, the feeling is like Monday and Tuesday belong to the government, right? Like you pay taxes. But like the thing is that like the reason why taxes suck, or why a libertarian, I guess, might feel like taxes are theft, is because you only see one part of that exchange. I work, and then the government steals my fucking money. But what people don't see is the only reason why you were able to earn that money in the first place is because of taxes that had already been paid. So whether we're talking about basic shit and obvious shit like roads and schools, or whether we're talking about more abstract stuff like a military to defend your country, or larger bodies that organize trade between you and other countries, right? Like the only reason you're unable to even earn any money in the first place is because of what your tax dollars have already gone towards paying for. So that's why I'm in favor of things like taxation. Like it's not just you getting robbed by the government, you're paying the government for a service that it provides you, but it's really easy to see the tax dollars you lose, and it's really hard to see the benefit the government provides.
Why are they entitled to do so with impunity?
I guess this is just going to become circular because I'm just going to say, I'm not interested in what the government is doing for me. No, thank you. And then they're going to be
maybe Destiny would be less salty.
It's better for everybody.
If you had nice sweaters, like comfy sweaters. You mean like cozy?
Sorry,
cozy sweaters.
God, it was one last thing.
Or stealing your capacity to pay for healthcare,
you were talking about
which
this
kills
really
you.
important relationship between people, especially people of lower means, people who can't afford as many things, and the stuff that they buy because it's of tremendously more importance. So I guess I'd want to ask you, is there any sort of moral weight that you put differently when a thief steals a Harley Davidson from a billionaire? Or is that the same thing?
I think I would have to construct the same rules for everybody.
Yes.
On a personal level, I feel a lot different. If I would have found the guy that had tried to steal that had stolen my saxophone when I was going to college, I would have fought for that for my life and probably died because I was a small person. But there's no way I could ever imagine watching somebody walk away with my fucking instrument that I know that I can't afford to replace. I would die defending it. 1,000,000%. But these days, if I came home and there was a burglar in my apartment, I would just walk the fuck out. I'd go to Chipotle and I'd wait 2 hours for them to fucking leave because I can replace all my shit now. So from a personal perspective, I acknowledge that there's a difference. When you're wealthy, your property doesn't really mean as much because I can fucking buy all that shit over again. When you're poor, your property means so much fucking more to you because it represents so much more to you. Now, from like a moral perspective, I'm uncomfortable with the idea that you can steal from somebody that won't notice that it's gone. Because if we go back and we look at it from that rural utilitarian perspective, now instead of saying that like as long as you're big enough, you can steal from somebody small. Now we're basically saying like it's okay to steal from somebody once they've passed a certain threshold of wealth, which also probably isn't okay. I don't think that would be acceptable
to anyone trying to abscond with personal
I'd be more okay sitting on the other end of that, where people are killed for entering areas where I know that I'm going to get killed if I do this, but I'm not fucking doing it anyway. I'm okay like with that person being killed trying to steal something, rather than crafting a rule for society that says, well, if somebody's wealthy enough, you can go steal their shit.
When I grew up with the people who leave their doors unlocked,
I'm sorry, this is much of a debate. I'm just asking questions at this point. So if somebody has like a no trespassing sign on their property, does that count or not?
Yeah, I think that puts you on sufficient notice. If it says no trespassing,
that counts. But there's an implicit no trespassing sign on every person's house.
I'll defend something with my life.
I mean, I guess you could argue maybe it needs to be like a no trespassing or I'll shoot or whatever.
Or like, I don't think a sign should suffice. Period. To be honest with you,
you probably just freeze and say,
are you American,
take what you want and get out.
Yeah. Wait, where in general are you from?
I'm from the Northeast.
Okay, so I lived in Omaha, Nebraska, I guess. Maybe this is just something I grew up with. I would assume that if I'm breaking into somebody's house, that they're gonna fucking kill me if they catch me. That even without a sign, I would just assume that. But that might be like a difference in area that people grow up in. But I would always assume that. And my friends would even joke about it. Even when I was fucking 10, because me and a friend would run around the neighborhood hopping fences and shit. And our scary thing would be like,
and you should also consider their economic situation.
I mean, I guess maybe in other areas you can make the argument that like a sign or whatever isn't sufficient to put a person on notice that they might be sacrificing their life for entering an area. You can make that argument. In which case, yeah, sure, maybe more notice would need to be given. Sure, but.
So do you think the law should be changed to reflect this? Like, you think it's actually like fucked up, the current laws in America?
Yeah, I actually think castle doctrine stuff should be way more. Well,
Europeans are very privileged.
From a moral
side, we don't even need guns.
So. From a pragmatic side, it gets a lot weirder because when we start looking at like how things play out in real life, when people die, one of the worst things legally is that you lose half of the witness to that.
With your life,
so, for instance, you might get situations where, do you remember that guy in? I want to say it was in Texas that like camped out in his fucking basement waiting for the two kids to break into his house, and he executed him.
So like, somebody had a trap that was waiting for them, where they walked into the door and acid broke on their heads.
I don't know about that. But I remember.
No, that happened.
Okay, I remember part of that case. I'm pretty sure he shot one of them dead, like on the ground when they were already like completely out of. Yeah. So like in cases like that, like so if my type of rules, if my rules led to an uptick in that type of thing, where people were being like executed on property, and we started to lose the ability to decipher, like, wait, hold on, like, was this person actually like breaking some shit, or this guy like wandered in your yard on accident, right? If that started to happen, then on a pragmatic level, I would have to reconsider to where I'd be like, okay, well, hold on, like, I don't know, like, that maybe this is something that needs to be looked at. So the legal level can't always meet the moral level because it can't, right? Like, like for instance, like you have to be 18 years old to sign a contract. Is that an
actually, it was a shotgun
There are probably some
trap.
16-year-olds that can sign contracts that have worked for 2 years or whatever, and there are probably a lot of 22-year-olds that are just graduating from college that are too dumb to sign contracts. They don't know what they're doing, right? But so we kind of approximate like hopefully the law tracks morality, but we don't know 100%. So that might be something that I would have to change legally speaking, depending on how it played out, you know.
I have a response to that, but one thing I forgot. It wasn't a jar of acid. It was that he set up a trapped shotgun so that when the guy opened the house, he was shot in the face, which was not decided as legal. Which I don't think no way you'd think that should be whatever.
No, the guy's actually setting traps and shit. That gets like really weird.
Well, why would you think that should be illegal? I'm confused actually. Like because he definitely had a no trespassing sign.
The problem that I had there was
like
that when I said before about infinitely strong,
like,
or strong people stealing from weaker people in infinite manners,
I think that people's right to self-defense.
I think you probably have an obligation to stop somebody if you have the means to otherwise without endangering yourself. And my understanding of that case was that it was like an old adult male that was against like some teenage kids.
Where do you draw
in which
the
case
line?
he probably would have had the ability to stop these people without having to like set up traps and execute them.
However, he wasn't even in the house. He was not there, right? He went to another place, so he didn't have any ability to stop them without the shotgun.
Wait, I was under the impression. I was under the impression that he was waiting in the basement the whole time. That he was like literally waiting for them to break in, and then when they did, yeah.
No, there's this great legal about this.
It was a shotgun.
I think he left the house and waited for the guy to open it up. And got shot in the face. But you can't think it changes the morality. He's in the basement versus a country home, right?
To get insurance.
No, it would totally depend on the It would depend on like who's doing the breaking in and like who's defending or whatever. But if I'm being like ultra charitable, if we construct the argument in the right way, there are ways where I could agree with that. Sure. If there's a guy waiting in his house and two people are breaking in knowing that somebody's going to defend it with lethal force and they decide to break in anyway, like I view that as, I'm really big on like consent and informed consent. Like I view that as a form of consent. If somebody puts you on notice, I'm going to fucking kill you if you break into my fucking house, and you're in a friend like, yeah, fuck it, let's break in anyway. Then I mean like you're on notice. Like I don't know what you expect to happen. I don't know why you would expect that these people should be defended. That's insane to me.
Instead structure our society so that someone loses something.
So I mean, that would depend on how reasonable it is for the other person to understand that their life is in danger. Like if you live in like a nice suburb and you go to visit a friend and you like just enter the door and you go inside and you don't ask for permission because you think it's okay, I don't think that somebody should be able to kill you for that, because the person would have a reasonable expectation that their life is like in danger. But if you know that you're breaking into somebody's private property and you know that you're not supposed to be, then I would, at least in my understanding of the United States, in most cities, I would expect you would know that like your life is under threat there. Like you know that what you're doing, that you know that this is like the deal that you're making essentially.
In an ideal world, David, yeah.
This is kind of an non sequitur, I guess. What do you think should happen with guns in America? They should more or less.
Honest to God, this is a really important take. I don't really care that much about guns in America. I don't think they're that big of a deal.
Cost as little as possible,
the amount of people that die to gun
free.
violence isn't really that much. The school shooting and the mass shooting stuff is pretty horrific, and I think the idea that schools, period, have to deal with any type of school shooting is like really fucked up. I think that if we were going to do anything related to guns, I think that everything needs to focus on getting rid of guns off the like actual out of people's hands before making legislation to ban them. So like I know there's been some success in Australia, and I think in some place in America doing like gun buybacks or whatever, but most of the gun legislation in the United States is just really poorly targeted. Like most people obsess over rifles, which mean nothing, and all the weird like restrictions that we put on shit don't really mean much. Like honestly, the most important thing to combat guns is probably getting rid of the war on drugs. But yeah. So, but you would say clearly from all this that you think it's somebody's right by virtue of their right to defend their property to wield a gun and thereby wield lethal force, or no? Yeah, I would say so. I think so. Yeah, assuming that like guns are legal and you're not like violating any crazy state laws or whatever. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I come at it from like a very I think that if we're adding amendments to our social contract, I definitely think that giving everybody a tool to immediately escalate situations to lethal levels it doesn't lead to the best outcomes for everybody.
But that's where I totally disagree. Because like if I'm crafting that contract with people, I'm 100% fine with it. I would never imagine stealing shit from somebody else. I would never imagine that somebody would be okay with me breaking into their house and me taking possessions from them and then me being able to get away because they can't catch me in time or because I'm larger than the person I'm stealing from. So I personally, I would have no problem with agreeing with that. If I had 10 neighbors and we were all talking to each other, like, yeah, if any of us catch each other like breaking into each other's fucking houses, like we're gonna blow them the fuck away, right? It's like, yeah, of course, obviously.
It's not that I'm asking you, like Destiny, if you would have a problem with that rule, but more broadly, I just think it's important to remember that people aren't just like stealing as a result of like, interior evil, right? And what's more, I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to distribute guns to everybody such that they can, extrajudicially kill people for entering their property.
I mean, people are extrajudiciously entering property. I mean, like, and whether somebody's stealing because they're evil or not. I mean, personally, I'm a hardline determinist, so I don't believe in like people being evil, or whatever. But like, it doesn't really matter why somebody's stealing from you.
What is also being ignored
now, the only
is that
exception I make here is if
people
people's judgments are compromised. I think that we can have conversation about that. So, for instance, like a
poverty and
5-year-old wandering onto your property, I
material
wouldn't
needs
expect them to
of the
understand the ramifications of what they're doing. Or somebody that's like ultra drunk,
much less likely
that
to
stumbles into your house,
exist,
I
and
wouldn't
the
expect them to
victim
understand the
wouldn't
ramifications of what
live
they're
in a
doing.
reality where
But for,
getting
like,
their
a
car
party-
stolen.
So what do you think about like the
their
fact that like
lives.
having a gun predisposes you to
If Joel's
these
ideal
sorts of
world,
like
the incentive
mishaps in the
to
first place?
stealing
And we
is
have what you're essentially
eliminated if it
establishing
happens,
here is like
people
you can
get
figure
their
it out,
stuff
random
back.
dude. You can figure out if extra legal force is
average
required here.
person
Sorry,
isn't
not
rich
extra legal
enough
because you think it
to
should
have
be legal,
insurance
but
for
why you
everything.
think that this sort of force is
It's
required
not
here.
different conversations. Stop
I just don't see that as a
isolating
great
your
idea.
arguments like nothing is connected.
I don't know. I would expect people to.
It's not universally
I just don't like
mandatory.
the idea of living in a society where
But
people
renter's
have their shit
insurance
taken
is
from them
pretty
by
cheap.
younger
Some
people.
apartments require it.
That's just like totally
for you to
unacceptable.
have
That's like
it.
a worst case scenario to me. I can't possibly imagine.
Where does
like,
wealth
you would have to get me
come
through so many
from?
hurdles to say to some poor dude like watching a big guy break into his garage and just steal his
think
shit
about this
and make
more
like 2 or 3
critically.
trips to his car doing it. Like you'd have to make such a huge argument to me to be able to say like, yeah, that guy needs to just sit there and watch it happen.
I wasn't
just can't imagine
saying
that. That's insane to me.
it was bad, ideal world, just currently not quite this.
Is lethal
one.
force necessary? Should we not aim for force that is not lethal? When
Like
do we not have a
insurance
moral
doesn't
responsibility,
cover
say, to
the
pick up
full
a bat
cost.
instead of a gun, pick up a knife instead of a gun?
And it's not like
so
you
knives
get
are horrible for
insurance
fighting
for the
because you put yourself
saxophone.
at a
Good
great
point.
deal of risk. A bat
Sure,
could
they're
work.
intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, like the only problem is that like I don't know how much
If we
responsibility I want to
enough
put on the person being
people
violated
who
against the person doing the
collectively
violating
can
in
the
order
labor
to
to
de-escalate the
replace these
situation. That's the
things
problem. It's a lot more personal, but like
by
if I were to compare this to
earthquake
like
or
a
tornado
woman
or
is
other
potentially
natural
being raped by a guy
calamity
and she
or
pulls out a gun and
petty
kills him, I don't think I'd ever
theft,
say to the
then it
woman
can
like,
be
well, hold
done.
on, don't you think you should have tried
The
a knife
wealth
first?
is
Like,
within
well,
the
no, of course not.
US.
Like she doesn't know if she's going to win with the knife. She doesn't know if she's going to win with the bat. The same
is
thing with a person
not
like stealing something from your house or your garage. Like,
wholly
you might get a weapon and go out and try to
formed
fight
out
them.
of
You
thin
might lose that fight. Now you're fucked. Now you're double fucked. Now you were just going to lose your possessions. Now you're going to get an ass whipping or maybe killed, right? So I don't know if I would put the onus on a victim to escalate the levels of forces responsibly if they're not guaranteed to end late the encounter. Now this has some reasonable limits to it. If like a girl in a bikini is in your garage and you're like the fucking rock or whatever, you probably don't have to shoot this person, right? Like, or if there's like a 10-year-old in your garage or whatever, you don't go and fucking kill this person
into
because
existence.
right, of course. But like in general, like yeah, I wouldn't put the onus on a victim to say that they need to be more responsible with how they escalate force against somebody violating their property, put on notice that they're doing it, that it will be like met with lethal force.
Okay, I guess it's 5:40 here, so I should go soon. I guess what I would say is, yeah, I guess the way I see it, having
really
a huge number of guns that exist
especially because, like, for me,
dose out lethal blows to people who are stealing your shit
like an important
is almost
thing.
certainly
like,
not a good bet in the long run when it comes to the people who own the gun particularly. It's not a good
the only
bet
time
for their
where
safety.
violence really
that's generally
is justified.
true. I mean, just owning a firearm period
self-defense.
predisposes you to all sorts of other issues, like the fact
But
you might use it in an
like,
encounter.
where
The
is
fact
it
that I think owning a gun
justified?
doesn't give you
I
any better
can't
chance to
tell
save
you
your property than just
exactly.
using a bat. In some huge like fucking meta-analysis I saw of like self-defense encounters, having it means you're more likely to kill yourself if you're suicidal. Having it means you're more likely for a child to have an accident with it. Yeah, there's a whole.
Sure,
but there's
sure.
different.
I just
That's
think
a
there's
different.
huge number of.
Yeah, that's a different kind of argument than like the self-defense argument. If you want to talk about like overall, like should guns exist in America, that's a way different argument. And there's probably really good arguments on both sides of that, where like guns should just be gone completely. But they're here.
Well,
so.
it isn't. It isn't. I guess I'm just saying, like, I guess what I'm just trying to say is, guns existing is something that we even would think about contesting in the first place, right? And so to say that somebody has this like this predisposed right to use it in a situation where it is almost guaranteed to escalate the conflict, as most people advise, especially people who are talking about self-defense situations. It's just surprising to me to think it's a great idea.
I don't view escalation as being immoral if you're the person being aggressed on. I'm not comfortable with that language.
Oh, escalation for you too, though. I mean, it's
I know,
more
but
likely
I'm still
to end in
not.
your death.
I'm still not sure, but I'm still not comfortable because escalation implies like moral responsibility. When you say escalate, whether you mean to or not, and I'm not saying you're trying to do this, but when somebody says somebody's escalating something, they're assigning a level of like moral culpability to that. You know, if somebody walks up to you in a bar, punches you, and then takes out a knife, and then you take out a gun and kill the person, like, did you escalate? Yeah, you kind of did, but like, is that like a moral wrong that you escalated there? Like, I don't think so.
There's
like, pulling out the minimum level of force needed to shut down the violent encounter with someone else as the aggressor, I think is more accurately reflective of what's happening rather than just like, oh, you just escalated the situation, right? Like, the other guy is aggressing. Like, the initial aggressor, I think, bears the weight of that encounter and where it could possibly go to. That's how I would view it. Like, if I break into somebody's house, like, I would be prepared to fight to the death. Like, I know that if I break into somebody's house and they catch me, they might kill me, and like, I might have to kill them. Like, that seems so reasonable. That seems so understandable in my mind. I can't imagine anybody thinking any different.
Right.
Like, if you broke into someone's house to steal their shit and they woke up and caught you, do you think they're just going to politely ask you to leave? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
John,
like,
what do I think is going to happen? I don't know. I guess I would be worried that they were going to kill me for sure. Yeah. Oh wait, that's not so. Even without like,
the line.
Which, by the way, so if he wakes up and he sees you, then he can kill you, or no? What's the deal with that? Or I guess he has to say like, I have a gun. I'm a big beefy boy. I can. But if he did, oh, whatever. I'm sorry. I'm losing myself.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the person's put on notice, I don't think it's entirely unreasonable for that person to assume that like they're going to get blown away if they're going to break into somebody's house. I think that's super reasonable, and I don't think society falls into this horrible paradox where like, oh no, like, what are we going to do if we kill people that are trying to steal things from people? Like, well, people probably shouldn't be trying to steal things from people at all. Like, I don't think that's that horrible of a thing. Like, what if this leads to a society where nobody's breaking in and stealing anything at all? Like,
they try to steal shit all the time, not just breaking in. Like, they steal shit constantly, right?
What do you mean by that? I guess.
Well, I don't know. There's muggings that happen. Yeah, I'm just saying in general.
I think those should be kind of labor force as well. Yeah, if somebody's trying to mug you or some shit, then and you have the ability to defend yourself. Yeah.
Again,
but again, maybe I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's difference in backgrounds or where we grew up or whatever. Like, if I mug somebody, I would be fully prepared that I need to kill this person because they might kill me.
Well,
like, I would never imagine that I could mug somebody and then like, hold on, nope, I've got a gun. It's like, fuck, you're right. All right, dude, I'll see you later. Like, fuck it, man. Like, you got me. And then I just walk away.
You can imagine a situation where like a pickpocket is going around town, takes your wallet, right, runs down. As he's running away from you, you bring out your gun and say, I'll fucking shoot you. And then he keeps running and then you shoot him in the back or whatever, right? Yeah, to me, I would take that as a violent and ridiculous escalation of the situation.
Sure. And then on the flip side, I would say that it's absolutely ridiculous that a pickpocket should be allowed to run around and rob people with impunity because he's faster than anybody else. I think that's insane to me. Like, there's no tears lost for a guy that is stealing from people knowing that he might get killed doing it, and then he does and he gets killed.
Oh my God.
Like, you're stealing shit from people. What do you expect to happen?
He's faster than anyone else, and that's why he's the best pickpocket on all the land.
It's just about the fact that his
because he's faster than anyone else doesn't mean he should be able to abscond with my
secret.
He's not treating his why? He's not treating his life sacred. Why the fuck should I? If he's willing to forfeit his
consequences
life
for actions like this, generally, yeah.
It's not even about consequences. It's just about some guy protecting their shit from being stolen from somebody else. An extension of who you are. Like, I'm not going to treat some guy's life with sacred shit if he's not going to treat his own life with sacred shit. If you break into somebody's house, clearly your life doesn't mean that much to you if you're willing to take that level of risk. So why should the victim have to like value the perpetrator's life more than he values his own life?
Criminals are, a lot of them are pretty impulsive, right? I mean, they're not legitimately having the inner thought every time, oh, this is going to be the night. They're definitely not. They're acting impulsively much of the time, right? No,
it depends. I mean, there are crimes of passion, but burglary is usually like a pretty determined thing. Like, I don't think somebody easily just breaks into somebody's house, right?
Criminals, we always think that increasing jail sentences, for instance, is an amazing way to deter criminals. In reality, the situation, they just don't think they're going to get caught.
Yeah, of course. But again, this is a different thing. So when we talk about like prison, for me, I think that prison should exist as a form of rehabilitation. However, on an individual level, I don't think that one individual is responsible for rehabilitating somebody aggressing towards them. This is an institutional level versus a person-to-person level.
As a trans person,
I wasn't trying to get into whether or not prisons are just. I was just trying to say that people who commit crimes are generally not doing the cost value.
Sure, I agree with that, but I don't think it's up to a victim to try to determine the intent of the criminal. Much the same way that I wouldn't put any personal bodily crime. Like maybe you're getting raped by a guy, maybe he's just really fucking frustrated. Maybe this guy's been a virgin for like 30 years or whatever, and he's just out of his mind, fucking horny. Like, I don't think that would be a good excuse to use when somebody's being assaulted by somebody, right? Like, you don't really care about the intent of the person at that point. They're violating your autonomy. So whether it's by stealing your shit or by violating your body, I don't think that it's on the victim to try to assess the state, the mental well-being or whatever of the person doing it. Beyond like a reasonable thing, right? Like, again, if a guy is like blackout drunk and he stumbles into your house, you probably shouldn't be killing this guy because clearly he doesn't know what's going on.
Okay, so I guess there's just a bridge that's just not going to be, because I guess at the end of the day, and you said this in the debate too, you just think about robbery as something that is.
You came in here, all you did is make a trans girl sad. I hope you're proud of yourself.
It's not as bad, but it's somewhere in that realm, right? And to me, I think unless somebody's legitimately taking away your means of survival, yeah, I guess I just can't go there. I can't think of it as that much of a crime.
If somebody, so like, let's say that music is really important to somebody, and let's say that they like work and they save up their money, and after 4 months they're able to buy In my day, it would have been like a Walkman, one of those little CD no skip players or whatever, or maybe like an iPod or something, and they're finally able to save it. And this is like the one little fucking ray of sunshine they have in their life. And let's say that somebody manages to break into their car, and as they come out from work, they see this guy in their car, and they see him go to pick his iPod up, and for whatever reason, this guy carries a gun with him, and he's like, dude, you can't take that. Like, this is like one of the only things I have in my life that actually like makes me happy. Like, everything else in my life sucks. You think that that guy should just watch the other dude walk off with his shit because it would be immoral to shoot that guy.
I don't know why I make Care Bears so angry.
I definitely think there should be infrastructures in place.
No.
There is no infrastructure in place. You're never getting that iPod back.
Yeah, I definitely do.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
Resveratrol.
I guess that's it. People in your audience are so surprised it's 5:40. Yeah, I'm in London right now. That's why it's late, guys. Sorry to. They were so distrusting of it.
Resveratrol. What are you saying?
Okay. I guess this was a good talk.
All right. Yep. I'll see you later. Have fun. Peace out. Okay.
All right, bye.
Resveratrol.
This has to be a troll comic, right? I think I was friends with this guy. Or he followed me on Twitter. This comic can't be real, right? Sometimes I wonder if different backgrounds like predispose you to looking at property in different ways. Because like, if I had grown up my whole life as wealthy as I am now, I don't know if I would necessarily have the same view. Because like, do I really give a fuck if someone's stealing my shit? Like, would I really kill somebody
underlying
taking
issues
my
rather than having
like they probably need it more than I do.
delusions of murderous
I can
grandeur.
replace it pretty easily. Like, it's a little bit inconvenient, but like, is it really worth it to kill a dude?
Not
just for like my is it really worth it
to
to kill a
make
guy?
society making a society
damn, that seems harsh as
in which
fuck.
the loss
I
of
don't know.
personal items
But
is not so
back when I like worked at the
devastating
casino,
to
back
so
when I
many
was going to
people.
school, some of the like only moments of happiness in my life were listening to
He's
my
gonna
like
go
to my like $50
somewhere.
shitty fucking stereo that I had personally wired to the
That's
two
not
little
even what the
component speaker sets that I
hypothetical
got
we
in
were
a fucking
talking about
dumpster.
was.
Okay, unironically that I had hooked up in my fucking
The
car with the
job
tweeters
of
fucking
police
taped to
to
my
look
A
for
pillars
him.
because I couldn't actually open them up or
I
drill them in.
wonder who
Like,
that
this is
like
like these are the
fucking Care
little
Bear
itty bitty things
was.
in my life that
Something
actually
tells
made me
me
happy. And
that was
man,
like the
dude, some of the
alt
saddest
of like
moments I had were driving to and from
somebody
the
that
school parking lot, and I couldn't listen
that
to
I
my music
knew
after
from
my car
like way
got broken
back.
into. And like when
That's
you're
like
like
trying
poor
to
to a
make me
certain
feel
level,
like,
and when
oh
the
my
entirety of your
God,
life is fucking
alienating
dark to a certain
people by
level, you
watching
lose like just the little
Destiny.
itty bitty tiny things
I shouldn't
that, like,
be allowed
you
to
have
watch
look forward
Destiny
to.
as a
Little itty bitty
trans
tiny things that like
person.
make you
That should
happy.
be like
To have somebody come into your life and
just
just steal
forbidden.
something like that from you is like such a horribly disgusting fucking feeling, dude. Like I can't describe what it's like. Like when I walked back to my car and I saw that my saxophone was fucking stolen, and I saw that my fucking stereo was gone, and my two shitty fucking
debate made
speakers
people
and the tweeters
more
had been ripped out of my
mad than I
fucking doors.
thought.
It was the most disgusting fucking feeling I ever had in the world. The amount of shame that I felt driving my fucking car home that day with the fucking holes in my doors and my empty little fucking dash and like no fucking
It's like
sound of the
weird
road,
to like
just like
be
fucking
mad
oh my god,
about
it's such a horrible
when
fucking
you're listening
feeling.
to a
When you wake up the next
debate,
morning, you got to do
to
that
be
over
mad
and over
about
again,
like
and
one
you're
of the
reminded every
people
single
that's in
fucking
the
time I
debate
get in
because
and
it's
out of my
like
car that somebody
okay,
stole my
so
fucking
root
shit,
for the
that some
other
fucking piece of
person.
shit
Look,
is out there either
Big
pawning my
Joel's
fucking
in the
instrument
debate
or trying to
too.
pawn my fucking stereo.
Be
Like,
like,
what a
go
horrible,
Big
disgusting fucking
Joel.
feeling.
Be
And
Destiny. Do
and
all
from
your
that
like
perspective,
fan
if somebody asked like,
shit.
do you
You
think you have the
know,
right to
do
kill
all
somebody
your
stealing your
like
shit? You'd be like,
sports shit.
yeah, duh. Wait,
And
why
be
do you
like,
even have to ask me that?
yeah,
I would
Big
die defending my fucking shit.
Let's
I would die defending
go.
my shitty student
Eat
model sax
that
and my fucking
baddie
$50
Destiny.
fucking
We
stereo.
don't like
Without a second
him.
thought.
Like, be happy about that at least.
I really
God.
do wonder sometimes if it's
I'm
like
just trying to make
if it's
you
just a difference in
happy,
background.
Bun.
Because like I said, if I would have grown up
I'm
like
just
that, no,
trying
I
to
could
make
never
you
imagine giving a
happy.
fuck about any individual piece of property.
I
I'm like,
do
fuck
this
it.
for you. I do this for Care Bears like you too. You know, Bun.
The only thing that I could
I
change
care
my
about the
mind
Care Bears,
on,
even if the
the
Care
only thing
Bears
I could
don't
change
care
my mind
about
on
me.
are
Ooh.
sentimental things. I don't have
Do you understand?
sentimental attachment to much. The only thing that's ever been taken from me when I was incredibly wealthy that really bothered me was my very
love
first
trans
cell phone that I
people,
had.
okay?
It was like a smartphone or whatever, because I had a lot of pictures of Nathan on that phone that I'll never get back. And that
Destiny is
actually
kind of
made me
shit,
so
but I still
unbelievably
enjoy
fucking
his
pissed off.
D&D content.
But I guess that's actually
huh?
similar to when you're poor. Because when you're poor, you're mad that people are stealing things from you that are irreplaceable to you.
I just don't know enough
and then
about
when you're wealthy,
D&D.
when you're wealthy, there are some things that are irreplaceable.
Every
as well.
time I
It's
try to
like,
play
yeah.
D&D, something fucked
But
up happens.
what are
I
you
get
gonna do, I
like
guess?
sexually harassed in the
Wait, oh,
game
no.
by like a creep and like
Oh no, wait.
just something fucked up
Ironically,
happens.
don't know how to
Somebody
convince someone
uses
that
their
you shouldn't kill
character to
someone.
sexually
You're
harass
treasured
me.
Walkman.
Like I don't know.
Even
That's
after
what
branching
happened last
weapon. I
time.
understand this is
The
a dumb-
time before
I was just so
I
ill-prepared
played with
for it
like a
seemed to me like
power
totally agreeable.
gamer.
I
There
think
was
it's
like
just a background
my
thing.
character is
Because
actually
on the flip side of it, because people are always presented in the most like in the most like one-sided way. Like, and on the flip side, I can't imagine telling somebody to say, dude, it's all right, man. Just let them
but
steal
no
your
one
shit.
can
Like, who
tell.
cares? You're probably
Just
buying
looks
another one
like a
in a year
normal
anyway. Like when
human,
taxes come,
but
like
it's
you're gonna get
actually
another
a
one. Like,
super
I can't imagine-
powerful
I can never
demon.
imagine telling
It's
somebody
like
that. I would be so ashamed. I would be so fucking ashamed of that.
500 times
Dave Chappelle told a similar story in one of his recent
more
skits about like
powerful
coming
than the
between
rest
a
of
man
the
and his
party.
money or whatever, and how the
And
guy
they
thought
just
he was
killed
gonna fucking
everyone in the
kill him.
party. And that was that.
I truly do
'Cause
think that it's
the stupid
like
DM was
truly
like,
do think it's a difference in
okay,
background,
you
though.
can be the super
So,
powerful
yeah, I don't know.
demon that's more powerful.
I understand
Like,
it. I
okay,
understand that
I
perspective.
kill everyone else.
Going to
Okay,
click
they're
into the
dead.
violation part, but I want
There
to
we
say 3, knowing someone broke into your stuff.
Nice game,
they were in your house and took shit as one of the most
so bad. It was so cringe.
Man, oh man, dude. Having your stuff stolen is literally one of the worst feelings in the world. It is one of the worst fucking things that can happen to somebody.
Happen on my tables. Nice, feel my puddle. Nice.
I don't know how to convey that to somebody that's been middle class their whole life. Like,
But it's usually unlikely for anything less than car theft.
It's so fucking. It is such a horrible fucking experience, especially if that thing is something you used every single day.
True,
and
John.
It, like, made your life like actually measurably better, and you know that some fucking piece of shit
for real. Anything that's like cheaper than
I don't know. It's the worst fucking feeling in the world.
A car.
To have somebody take something from you like that. I guess like imagine getting grounded like times 10, and it's not even your parent grounded.
Yeah, exactly. A car. That's what I would say.
Yeah, home invasion and shit could be really rough too, for sure. Another thing I've noticed is when people don't understand the concept of having only one place to go. When you're poor and some fuck shit happens at home, at least in my experience, there's nowhere else to go. You can't even move it out of a shithole for the first part. Oh yeah, one thing that sucks.
Do you see the abuse that I have to deal with on the daily from fucking Care Bears? Do you see this shit?
So much. When I talked about how like
do you see what I get? Like there's touchy-feely, lovey, little accounts of like
Bun Bun. Well, actually, animating is actually incredibly hard. I spent a whole summer doing construction work once, and animating is way more hard than that.
How's it
One
going?
thing that people don't understand is that the coolest thing about being wealthy is that it gives you options. People don't know what it's like to not have any options. It is like it is a feeling that is hard to explain.
Oh
and
my god!
And it will control and change the way that you view every other part of your life.
What
you know, like when somebody's saying, like, dude,
shit was that?
Just go to the school for this thing. Take a risk. Like you might as well. You're young. And it's like, well, okay, well that's easy for you to say because if you fuck up, like your mom and dad are going to pay for you for the next 10 years of your life.
That's why I think I know what to expect when I see a pit crew, and I don't. I'm wrong.
If you don't have any fucking like backup savings, or they don't live in the same state, or you don't have people like
like
it's a lot harder to take those risks. You know, like sometimes when wealthy people brag about, and not to take away from anybody's accomplishments. If you graduate from school, you did, like that's great and that's awesome. But like sometimes when wealthy people brag about like walking a tightrope, they forget the fact that they're like 1 inch above the ground. Like that's really cool that you went and you did that thing, but like if you fell off the rope, like, nothing bad is going to happen to you, right? Like anybody can do it. Well, I shouldn't say anybody can do it. But, like it's a lot less scary when like the ground is right there, when you always have a safety net, when you're like super close by. Yeah. I noticed that a lot of people did that to me. Well, a lot of people. Anna recently was doing that to me about the Rachel stuff, where she's like, "Why did you and Rachel fight so much? Like, couldn't you just disengage? Like, couldn't you just go somewhere else?" Like, well, first of all, this is my house, bitch. Okay, number one. Number two, I don't have anywhere else to go. My parents live like 1,700 miles away in fucking Miami. Okay, I don't have any fucking place to go. Number three, I'm a small motherfucking person. Okay, back when me and Rachel fought, I was 105 pounds. Okay, she had like 40 pounds on me, unironically. These were not easy fucking fights. It wasn't like people would try to spin this as like I was like kicking her ass up and down the fucking stairs all day because I was just some like abusive demon or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? Like this is not how this played out at all. What the fuck? Yeah, people are crazy, dude. Holy shit. More people need to be forced to struggle and suffer in life, okay? So they can understand the experience. I don't know. I don't think in general, I don't think suffering makes people better. I think it usually just fucks their minds up. But I don't care. You should have to fucking suffer. Okay? Anytime I see somebody that treats like wait staff like shit, or will treat like janitors like shit, my number one fucking trigger. And if you come to my events, one of the few penalties, there are a few crimes that I think that you should be executed on the spot for. That we should have snipers set up in every single fucking city just for people to do this.
I mean, it's a very general. It's a very big. He's not.
And if you've been to any of my fucking canvassing events, you've heard me say this every fucking time I'm in front of a group of people. Hey guys, clean up your goddamn trash. If I find any fucking trash here, I will kill in a video game. I will video game all of you. Do not fucking litter. Do not fucking throw trash.
Don't turn into a fucking boomer right before our eyes, please, for fuck's sake.
Why did I bring up the littering thing? Because I've unironically been in hotels with streamers.
The boomerification continues.
And they're like, dude, throw in the trash. And they're like, that's not my fucking job to clean it up. It's like,
I mean, he's right. He's right about that. Yeah, definitely don't like leave shit.
Your last name's not Rockefeller, and you're not wearing a fucking crown. You can pick up your goddamn trash. Okay?
I mean, like, I'm not disagreeing with that.
What the fuck is wrong?
Right? I'm cool with that. That's
I don't care. People say, "Did you see XQC's room?" I don't care if your room was dirty, but I'm like, fuck. People have no respect for anything around them or for other people, and it drives me fucking crazy. Holy shit! Oh my god, it drives me fucking insane. Sorry, donuts.
You gnome fuck!
You gnome fuck!
Someone stole my old iPhone that had voicemails of my late father, and I would have definitely killed someone over
gnomes.
it. Maybe try more sentimental property appeals in these property debates.
Oh, true. That's another thing that I had on that phone as well. Was all of my the last conversations that I had with Chris as well were backed up on text there, and then those were gone as well. I dropped my phone in a movie theater, and I didn't notice it until that day. It fell in my pocket when I went back to the theater.
At least you didn't get robbed by a wild woke scold. I mean, that would have been scary.
True.
What is the crinkling sound?
The crinkling.
It's like a little bag I have. Sorry.
The crinkling.
Enjoy a sub, Liz. Filthy sock damn ye wins.
No.
You gnome fuck!